who's comfortable paying money to Vimeo? Everyone's comfortable giving money to Apple. Everyone's comfortable giving money to Amazon. Vimeo, I don't know. I don't know that it's a huge amount of people that are like, yeah, sure, I'll give you my credit card and I'll do this. So I think it's an evolution, and I don't think we're 100% there yet, at least in my experience. But we are prepared to create content to go litmus test these platforms. Outside of YouTube and AdShare, I haven't really had any major experience and or success in just like, here's my thing, I've put it up on the line, and here come my magical checks in the mail. I haven't got to that point,
Well, there's all these smart TVs that have enabled with, Zoom, and there's all kinds of different things on the smart TVs you can place your programs on and share revenues with them. Has that worked for anybody? Have you guys had any success in that area? Have you produced programs and been able to get on any of these platforms and had any kind of money return? That's what I'm really looking for. Because we're all going to spend our efforts and our time and our money to make things. What are we going to get for it? And
Well, I think it's still really early days on that.
That's kind of what I'm saying. I think it's just...
Because, for one thing, if you look at it, are you doing something as a labor of love because you are an artist or an artiste, depending on, your personality? And are you doing long form, and is it drama or sort of on the spectrum to like farcical comedy? Because some of them lend themselves, some of those genres and actually tone lend themselves better to these environments. For instance, comedy, you can often do bloopers and outtakes and little short clips of jokes, and they can be chopped up and used in other environments where people are doing mashups, right? Or snap cuts or snap clips, there's all these kind of things. They work that really well that way. Demand Media, Zephyr, which is a studio effort to do clips and trailers that you mix and match. That's really different than a serious drama where you really have to watch the through line of the narrative, and you need to have all of the build and the three acts and the whole thing. So the matching the technology, and this is why it's so much more difficult than it used to be, because you have to match the distribution and the business model actually to the context of the content. Is it something that lends itself to sponsorship or not? Not everything does, might be crass and ruin what you're trying to do. Sometimes it ties in really well if you're doing something fun and funky and you want to see if Red Bull's going to sponsor it. So. Well,
to get a sponsor, you have to have distribution, so they have to actually know that eyeballs are going to see it, or they're not going to give you any money. So it's kind of a chicken-egg thing. But you had a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Patrick Cady with CredibleInformation.com. I wondered, have any of you had experience with, or what your opinion is of location-based advertising or proximity-based advertising? So, someone watches some of your content, and depending on where they are, their GPS signal on their mobile device, then your advertisers can hit them. They opt into this service, obviously, but then your advertisers can hit them with, oh, there's a discount at this coffee shop, right around the block.
That's a program you're going to have to write.
That's not a model.
That's an app. We have an app that does that, like around you, and then the sponsors come in individually. That'd be a brilliant idea, because you could, right when they're watching it, right around it, that ties in. Let's say you're wine tasting and you're talking about, the different wines, and the stores right around you are selling the same wine and advertising it, or the same kind of food, or if you're a food network, But as individuals, we're all trying to produce stuff. We're using cameras from, shooting 4K down to shooting a 5D or whatever kind of things we're shooting on. Whatever it is, you're going to spend money to do it. I just want to know how we're going to make money back and see if we can all kind of get together as a group. Maybe there's an app that tracks this, because when it's out there on these networks, on the internet, it can go anywhere. But you really never know what's happening with it or who's making money from it. Everybody else is making money from your videos. How do we make money from it? And I think that's the group here as New Media. How do we make our own money from it and keep it from everybody else stealing it?
Just to chime in there for a second, even though this is a little bit different but kind of similar, talking about location-based. From the publishing literary side, we did a project with around Cowboys and Aliens when that movie came out. And we did an app for that movie around the original Cowboys and Aliens graphic novel, and partnered with Barnes & Noble, where when you brought in your Nook into a Barnes & Noble and downloaded the app, it would give you all kinds of exclusive content that you would only get once you were in the walls of a Barnes & Noble. And they promoted it in the store, and it was a really successful test for us to show that, depending on how you're doing it, on what kind of promotion you get, on what type of device you're using, it can be successful. You can excite a buyer into actually coming and buying something and engaging with that content, depending on what it is. AMC is another example. I know that, without going into too much detail, that, AMC is for a while now been talking to specific content providers about, coming into your AMC theater for a movie, downloading certain content and being able to unlock a whole bunch of great things that are exclusive only when you're within that theater. So depending on the content, location-based can be cool if it's done right.
Yeah, I think, well, how many of you do already have a presence on YouTube or some other permanent channel for yourself? And how many of you are just independent, looking for more traditional distribution? Well, so the very, very different conversations, and those are very different businesses. The location-based entertainment, there's Premier Retail Networks, which was bought out. There's a lot of in there, gas station TV and all sort of thing. But to Chuck's point, most of the time it's still big media that's done the regular media buying and packaging, and they're just using the traditional broadcast eyeballs, brand awareness thing, versus actually looking for engagement. But on the LB, there's also augmented reality apps, which can basically, you have the app in a place that can integrate an image from the cloud so that you can see something that's not there. A la Minority Report, there's a bunch of those actually in town. There's one called Snaps, used to be called Gold Run. There's one called Alhambra, a lot of that kind of, those AR are really interesting if you have something that on your side that is can be related to a product. But I don't think that there is a direct path to making money in the way. So it's still the same thing where either you're going to get a lot of eyeballs and you have to do that through social media and engagement that you do through building up basically a fan base before you even have a conversation and distribution. And that's really what's changed. What used to be, you go to the festival, they like it, okay, they take it, they market it for you, then you get a fan base, then you can leverage it. Now you have to actually do all that marketing, basically pre-sale, to get a following, to make it work.
It's a lot of work.
How does the 3D pads that are coming out are going to affect you, your games, your animation, and that type of thing? Because there'll be 3D type iPads and different media that's done in a 3D manner. The glassesless pads will probably be the future.
I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of 3D. I mean, it's
Well,
not.
I'm not talking about 3D in the theaters.
No, I know, but even in the past, I mean,
For animation, like the Batman series or whatever these comics, in a 3D scope like that is really what it's going to be targeted at. It's going to be games and animation.
I mean, it's whatever the consumer wants, whatever is popular with those consumers, you're going to see. With content, with especially, again, like literary underlying source material content, people are going to adapt it however they can to draw eyeballs. And, you've already seen that over the last couple of years with people taking comic books and just releasing them digitally, just having a digital version and making that digital version interactive, turning it into what we sometimes call motion comics, where you take the flat illustrations, break the layers down, add an animation, and almost turn it into like a little bit of an animated series based on that original artwork. Some of you may have seen what DC Comics and Marvel Comics have done with some of their motion comics over the last couple of years. So I think that it's whatever the consumer wants. Obviously, it's heading more and more into that 3D arena. I, like you, am not a huge fan of 3D. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it's beautiful. Other times I think it just gets in the way. But I think you're just going to see content being adapted in every which way to hit the desires of whoever that consumer is going to be.
In video games, I think it's good. I mean, like, especially in the left eye, right eye, where you're concealing different gameplay from, it may not even be, it may be 2D, 3D, where you're the picture in the face. I like that kind of stuff. But to me, 3D overall seems like an upsell across the board. It's like, and now in 3D, who cares? Like, it's got to be a good story. It's got to be good.
Yeah, but I'm talking about on your little screen.
I don't care.
It's
I
interactive.
got to be honest. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Anybody else
That's just
out
me.
there care? No? So nobody cares about that, but that's the
Holograms, yes.
Yeah, it's similar to a hologram popping out of your.
Like, it's just a right, no screen, just be there.
And we are putting a lot of holograms around different places, you know. I mean, there's at the Midway in San Diego, we just shot something so that when you go down and visit the museum in the Midway in San Diego, you'll be seeing all the officers and the people that were in the war and everything else talking about it, and there'll be holograms. You know, we're putting holograms in Las Vegas because there's fees for performance fees there. So instead of having a performance fee, they may have 5 mariachis singing happy birthday to you, and one of them's real and the rest of them are holograms.
To our point is that all of it's being basically infused with marketing in one way or another, and that's location-based experiential marketing, and all of that rest of the technology will be brought to bear to enhance that experience, and that's a great example where you wouldn't not want, if you have a mariachi, you want them in 3D.
Well, yeah, that'd be a hologram.
You're going to go that far, you want it to.
And then
And
there's a-
especially Vegas or any of those, but that all ties back into, again, shopping. And I mean, that's we're a consumer culture, and or even just other aspects like science museums. I know we're using a lot of that immersive environment where it really matters that you're literally bombarded versus following a storyline. But I think that. Again, like, does that fit the model perfectly? It does. That's how they're going to make their money off of that content, by having it more compelling by being in 3D.
I think I'm talking about the holograms where they're making money because they're not having to pay a fee for the other artists. You know, and if one artist is there, it appears, then he can interact with you, say your name, and interact with the other holograms and act like it's real. But I mean, that's not really anything you guys are doing for content, creation. It's just kind of a future of what's happening in different production areas where you're going to create all this. That's a new market for creating programming, you know.
Well, it's really easy to get lost because there's so much going on, and as Allison said, there's multiple different solutions for whatever it is that you're doing. And for me, I like to just stay in a creative space to start and get really good product done. I think that it's easy to get lost and say, hey, I made this thing, and you're so focused on the end result that it does take full attention to make really, and you would appreciate this too, I mean, to just stay in a creative space and actually create something that is worthwhile. And that's key. And then, I mean, and whatever you don't know, go find somebody that does. I mean, it's difficult as a CEO or any person, not any one person or any one company has the only solution. There's a zillion, and it's going to be a constant evolution. It's a change that's going to always be changing. I don't think there's never going to be something there, you just upload a Vimeo, you get 90% and we're done. It's never that easy. And no matter how good, once you've created that awesome piece of content, you can have the greatest thing in the world, and that's when you transition into everyone needs to know about it, because you could have the best CD on the shelf, and if you can't see it or no one knows about it,